for it.
Okay.
So yeah, no, thanks for coming on. Can you tell me a bit about where you're from? I think you're from Poland, but tell me a bit about where in Poland you're from, and yeah, what got you into traveling?
All right. So basically, I'm Italian, and I'm here in Łódź, exactly in the heart of Poland, in the center of Poland, since 4 years. And well, my decision was taken because in Italy I was not really satisfied. So I decided to come here to have a better life, better opportunities in terms of job, especially. And well, after 4 years, I'm really satisfied with my choice. It was a winning choice. And during those 4 years, I have the chance to travel a lot inside and outside the country. And I discover a very, very beautiful country, very beautiful town, and very beautiful people.
Awesome. And so why did you choose Poland? Just for the work, or was it you like Poland specifically?
Well, before I wasn't in Poland. I never been in Poland, but I decided mainly for the job. I basically didn't really feel about this country, so it was a sort of adventure, like a jump in the dark, we can say. And
Awesome.
yeah, but well, I can invite all the listeners to come here and don't, for example, don't distract only Warsaw or in Krakow, that for sure are the more beautiful town here, but literally to discover all the country, even the countryside, because it's really interesting and a bit surprising, in my opinion.
Okay. So why did you say that? Why is it surprising?
Well, for example, there are some little town or smaller town. I make you a practical example. Torun is between Gdansk and Warsaw, and it's a fantastic medieval town. And it's famous, worldwide famous for the gingerbread. There is even a museum.
Yeah.
And well, it's a bit, underrated because the most of tourists, not the travelers, the tourists go to, of course, to Warsaw, Krakow, Gdansk on the Baltic Sea, because they are quite attractive and the structure probably are better. But if you want, in my opinion, a more genuine experience, go, for example, to Torun or Malbork. Malbork is a wonderful castle and is the largest castle in Europe. But almost no one knows about those places. And there are, for example, also Weba. It's on the Baltic coast. And well, there the local people recreate like a sort of tropical sea. So with the dunes, with the desert, and well, or I can make you also another example. We have this place called Białowica is a forest where basically you stay in the nature outside and you have the chance to meet the bisons. It's between Poland and Belarus. So I got a lot of these examples just to advise you and about all the different duties and yeah, I would say the underrated places you can find here in Poland.
Underrated. Yeah.
Underrated, yes.
Okay, that's a good thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so tell me, have you had any negative experiences in Poland? Like any weird experiences with people or anything you've been doing?
Well, with people, I had always good relationship. Well, for sure, if you go in the smaller places, it's not so usual to find someone who is speaking English.
Yep.
But generally, I would say for an English speaker here in the country, there is no such a great communication problems. For sure, here, for example, it's more spoken English compared to my country, to Italy. So, especially, of course, the youngster people are really open, and you will not find any particular difficulties. But even if the people doesn't know the language, they are against the stereotypes who let's say, imagine a bit the Polish people like cold or not really friendly. In my opinion, is exactly the opposite.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yeah. So people here are really helpful, and well, maybe my experience, it cannot count for everyone, of course. But yes, I was surprised also about it. And I repeat once again, here in Poland, of course, if you respect the normal way, the normal behavior, if you are open people, if you are open-minded, you will not find any particular damage or danger. It's also another good point is also the country is really, really safe. The rate crime is really, really low. And well, even for example, for a woman who want to travel around alone, there is absolutely no problem. If I can say not a negative point, but maybe a point who can be a bit improved in this country is the customer care service. I mean, they are still a bit, I wouldn't say rude, but really practical. So maybe you will not find the classical kindness you can find in Italy, in France, or in the Mediterranean country. They are more, you know, pragmatic. They are not like wasting time in the relationship with the customers.
Yeah.
So I think this could be improved, but it's the only bad point I have to remark for Poland.
Okay. So that's a good point. Do you miss Italian food at all? Surely.
This is a classical question, and my answer is obvious. Well, I miss Italian food, of course, but here we have such a good replacer, especially pizza. And by the way, for me, it's not a great problem because I love cooking, and well, so basically, it's my pleasure maybe to entertain some foreigner and let him discover the specialties of the Italian food. Because we are talking also about regional food, not only the most famous like pasta and pizza that everyone knows. So I'm really glad and proud, honestly, to show all the hundreds of different foods you can taste in Italy.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So so tell me, what type of traveler are you? Are you sort of like when you do travel or you plan trips, do you backpack or are you bougie? Do you like the hotels? Like how do you travel?
Well,
You look like
thank you.
a backpacker, someone who'll get amongst stuff.
Well, it's a very interesting question because I define myself a traveler rather than a tourist. And it means that, as you said, there is a mix of those, of this different kind of traveler. For example, for sure, I'm a backpacker, especially when I go in some remote places or places where basically there is no one or it's really there is no crowd of people, so it's isolated in that sense. So I like to backpack, and in general, I'm really essential. Maybe my mom told me that sometimes I'm too essential, but but I really like to be light, so to have just seriously 3, 4 shirts, one or two pair of jeans, trousers, and that's it. I'm really basic. Well, of course, if I go in town or, for example, in bigger town, I have to change a bit my outfit and my habits. But for sure, I will fly always without having any extra pack. This is my golden rule. I never go beyond it. So for me, it's really important to be light, to have only the essential, even because I think I have this blog travel that probably you see, and there I describe my philosophy of travel. That it's basically. So for me, the travel is an introspection. When I decide a place, I took maybe also someday to decide, because it's not so automatic. Okay, I see this place, I want to go there. I really like to be informed before in advance, and if I'm inspired, I decide to go. For example, the first country that really inspired me, and where I realized that I was a traveler, not a tourist, was Portugal. Well, there, because I realized the slowness, that it's really part of the mentality of these Portuguese people. And there, especially in Lisbon and Aveiro, well, I felt myself like at home, and discussing with people, and observing the landscapes, all the beautiful things, food, monuments, nature, everything, make me reflect a lot, and make me almost isolated by all my daily problems, troubles, and so on. So Portugal was a sort of enlightenment, I would say, like this. And from there, I started to go on those underrated places, or not so famous, rather than the most cliche places you can visit.
Okay, so your sort of adventure starts in Portugal, sorry. So what did you do there, and where'd you go from there when you started travel? What did you, yeah.
Well, the plan was to basically to move only, to respect my philosophy, to move only with by feet and by train. And it wasn't so complicated, because I was there 10 days with my backpack, and I started from Lisbon. And there I lived in a hostel, and it was really comfortable, because from the hostel I could visit any part of Lisbon. And well, I remember I really love, for example, the Castelo Branco is the highest castle in Lisbon, and from there you can have you can go literally until to the ocean. Well, I was inspired so much also by the Torre de Belém, the Belém Tower, that basically is the point where the ocean and the Douro River connects themselves. Well, so Lisbon was the round number one, the stage number one. The second stage was from Lisbon to Coimbra, that is exactly in the middle between Lisbon and Oporto. Coimbra was famous for his academic life, and it's a really beautiful town. There I remained 2 days, and I really enjoyed the local food, and also the local liquor, like, for example, gingilla. It is an extract, cherry extract, so great, so good. And in Coimbra, I had also my first contact with fado. Fado is the typical melancholic chant, let's say, of Portuguese, yes, of Portuguese folklore. So this music really sad, that remind a bit the poor Portuguese that in the past were forced to move, I don't know, in Angola, Mozambique, or let's say outside the country. And it was amazing with the guitar and the particular ambience, and well, it was really a great, genuine experience. So from Coimbra, I decided to go to Oporto from the north, and the whole Oporto was so beautiful. And really, in this place in Oporto, it was, imagine, it was the only town I revisit once again, because usually I don't have this habit, but I was so impressed. I was so in love with the town, in connection also with people. For example, when I arrived, there was the Douro River, and this area, Villanova de Gaia, that is famous for having all the liqueurs brand. And it was so beautiful to see just the ships with the liquor barrels sailing the river. So on the other part, there was like Palacio de Bolsa, so basically the economic center of the town, with all these azulejos, this mosaic of blue windows, let's say. And well, it was really a connection with the places, and also about the activities I'll do, because I really like, for example, also running in my travel, because I think it's the best option to know better and closer what are surrounding you. And well, I remained in Oporto 4 days, and I went also to Guimarães, that it's even northern place. And well, Guimarães is another example of underrated places, a place that a town who basically no one visit. But it's really important instead for the Portugal history, because it's the place where the king started the kingdom. So it's called the place where Portugal born. And well, and the last stage was Aveiro. And why Aveiro? It's another underrated place, but really beautiful. It's called Portuguese Venezia, because it's full of channel. And well, and it's very beautiful because the bridges have those frescoes with made by the local sculptors. And well, in effect, in reality, you have this sensation to stay in Venezia. And well, so there was in brief summing up all my stages, and a very, very inspiring travel.
Okay. So in terms of, you said you like to like run in part as part of your travels. Yep. Do you mean like running to the cafe, or do you mean just for fitness type of thing? Because like you'd be exhausted.
That's a good question. Well, no, it's like simply an habit. In the morning, I'm quite a early bird person, so I didn't sleep so much in general, because I have always this anxiety to see everything I plan. Well, I just simply like to run, but not in a hurry, just to enjoy the landscape and to start to feel confidence with the place.
Yep.
Simply like that.
Yeah, well, I think it's really cool, because I guess you get the feel of it and you get to cover ground quicker. So I guess you get to feel what's out there, where you're at. And yeah, that's awesome. I've never really heard anyone say that type of exploring, just like running, but I guess it makes sense. Yeah.
Well, for example, in Copenhagen, there is a tour guide based on the run experience. Basically, there is this those guides, yes,
yeah,
that are showing all Copenhagen. It lasts like 1 hour or 1 hour and a half. And you can see Copenhagen by running. Of course, they are stopping in the most important place to tell you a bit, to give you some pills. And well, it's quite a successful business. They run since 3 or 4 years. I mean, I'm not really sure, but I remember this. And well, it's a sort of alternative or some attempt. But I think it's interesting because, of course, it's given also by your physical condition. It's better when you are more awake. I don't know how to explain. You are more careful to the details and so on. You are more active, shortly.
Yeah, absolutely. You'd be way more alive, and just like, yeah, endorphins are going, I guess. So I've got another question. Have you ever just like, because you're traveling throughout Portugal, and have you ever just like woke up one day and just thought, listen, like, I just want to catch a bus, or you don't really want to go on feet or train. Did you ever have a cheat day or?
Well, yeah, it happened several times that my plans were not respected, or I decide suddenly to change. For example, I can tell you in Eilat, in Israel, I was there and I struggled to go in Jordania because there is Petra, the desert of Wadi Rum. So I was really catched by this. But there was no condition because of the visa, because of some fee. So I decided suddenly to change the path, the itinerary. And well, I took the first bus for Jerusalem. And well, it was my, let's say, first deviation, or but for me it was, was absolutely a problem because I'm always thinking to have an alternative, a plan B, if plan A doesn't work. So in this case, from a beautiful destination as Jordania, I moved to Jerusalem, but it's the same, really interesting and well, and for sure well known. But I have also other, also in Poland, it happened to me. For example, I wanted to go to Gdansk on the Baltic Sea, but there wasn't any train available because I booked really late. So I decided to change destination and go to Wrocław. And I discovered Wrocław, closer to the German border. And also there was really, maybe even better than the original destination. So
That's
I
awesome.
agree with you. I agree with you. And I think a real traveler need to adapt to the circumstances. Sometimes it's not possible to follow your predetermined travel. But this is for sure, this is not necessarily a problem or a bad thing.
Can I just ask, what is it an environmental cause that is it the reason why you only walk and train, or is it just your personal favorite way to travel? Like, is that just like your way, I guess?
Sorry, can you repeat?
Yeah, so like you only usually travel via foot and train. Is that something that you just like to do, or is it an environmental reason behind you doing that, or?
It's more environmental reason because in Portugal,
Yep.
this combo, it's quite easier to do. It depends, of course, also if the public transport is efficient. And by my experience, it really depends of the country. For example, I can say that even in my country, in Italy, it's not so easy to organize the travel with train and by feet. I would say in 50–60% of cases, you need to rent a car because otherwise you will miss the most interesting places because they are not reachable or not at all with a car. So I mean the choice of the country also is important because before traveling you have to take this information and to decide if it's better or not. Even
Okay.
if a real traveler is not discouraged, in some way you can also alternatively go, for example, with bike, and this is typical of Iceland in general, because in Iceland it's well known that the public transport is not really efficient. There are just a few tracks, or even with strange or weird timetables. So it's better maybe with bike. But of course, this is a consideration you have to be in mind before you are starting.
Yep. Have you had any like moments throughout your travels to Israel, Jordan, and I guess in Portugal where you've had like some scary moments or some moments where you were questioning whether it was safe or had any issues?
Well, honestly, not really, but not because I undervalue the danger, because I think I'm quite open-minded, and of course, it happened to me some issues, some misunderstanding. But I don't have this tendency to find myself in troubles. Maybe I don't know, but I never did. I never had this sensation of to be in danger, or for sure it happens. Some weird situation, some awkward situation. But I have always been so wise and accurate to avoid any potential problem. Like, for example, when I was in Turkey, another country that I love so much, sometimes to save some money, I slept in a very dangerous places, but dangerous in brackets. I mean dangerous because it looked like really decadent, cheap, and well, also the hostel was in some doubtful position. Sorry, but when I was there, after the first initial moment of shock, or you are looking you around and you see, let me check better what happened here. But maybe I was just lucky, but I never had this feeling of danger or potential threat.
Wow. Okay. You're so pretty lucky, I guess, and you're
Yeah.
cluey. Yeah.
Also because consider that I mostly travel in Europe and in Israel and Turkey. So for example, I never been in South America or in poorer country like in southeast of Asia. And well, maybe when you will ask me this question in 10 years, maybe my my reply will be different probably.
Yeah, well, hopefully nothing too bad goes on.
Hopefully not, but
Touch wood. So in Turkey, what do you do in Turkey? What do you explore there? What's there to do? And yeah.
well, about Turkey, I was there 3 months with the European Voluntary Service, and I was in Balıkesir. That is a quite big town, 6 hours from Istanbul. And there I was engaged in working with in a school with disabled children. And well, of course, it was quite tough, quite demanding. But in the weekend, as soon as I can, I went to explore the Turkish. I want to explore the Turkey. Sorry. So I saw really important places like, for example, Truba or Bodrum on the coast that are famous because there was the archaeological escape made by Schliemann. So, all the famous, for example, Helen of coming from Troya and all the legend, all the stuff. I saw also other famous places like Çanakkale or Pamukkale, where there are those salt granites. It's like a sort of salt lake, and there are all those I don't know exactly the word in English, the pillar, let's call like this, little pillars of salt, and it's very interesting place. And but yeah, in that case in Turkey it was a bit different, the organization, because I had only the weekend at my disposal. So I should choose on places not so far, quite close to my town, due also to a not really efficient way of system of transport. But I was, for example, in in Istanbul, of course, but also in other smaller town like Bursa, really beautiful, because there is the Green Mosque that is famous in all the country. Or, for example, I wanted to go to Gaziantep, that is in the south, Turkey, but in Cappadocia, but it was too long because it took almost 12 hours, so it was
Yes.
pointless to go there in a weekend. And yeah, I saw the nearby, the surrounding of Balikesir, and it was interesting. Of course, it was even more interesting the social contact with people in a reality where there is where the Islam is in the country, but is not. It's like called the modern Islam. So compared, I don't know, to Saudi Arabia or to Bahrain, to those Arabic countries, for sure, it's much more calm, lighter. I saw really beautiful architecture, especially about the mosques, because they are really temples, really beautiful, a bit like our Gothic style. So the minaret and all those construction are sorry, I don't know exactly how to say in English, are, let's say, tent to the sky, and well, for a religious reason, but also there, despite a very different way, very different mentality, I find myself really safe, appreciated. But it was really interesting to talk and discover another culture so different from my culture.
Yeah. So, like, did you hear the Muslim prayer in the mornings and stuff? Was that a thing, or?
Yeah, I heard the famous five because they are praying 5 times. So you heard with a megaphone the mosque, and they start really early, around 5:30. And well, the first time was a bit awkward because I wasn't used. But
Yeah.
after, as all the things in life, once you know, you're getting used, and it looks like not even so strange. Like, for example, you go to the mosque and you have to leave your shoes because you respect of the God's house. And you should remain in silence. You have to respect the culture.
Yep.
But I was lucky also there because I had some Turkish guy that explained me a lot in the details how to behave, how not to behave, and I was totally immersed. Also, for example, in the culture of bath because I discovered that in Turkey, like in the Roman Empire, there was two kind of bath thermal places called frigidarium and calidarium from Latin, so hot place and cold place. And the principle is it was exactly the same, to go first in the hottest place for the depuration of skin, and then go to the colder places and the famous hammam, the Turkish bath. I did this experience and it was really interesting and intense also.
So okay. Tell me about the Turkish bath. What was that like? What did you have to do? Did you prepare yourself, or how does the
Yeah,
process work?
yeah. The process is like if you go in a thermal place, but let's say the difference is that first of all you remain more than, for example, I remain 1 hour and a half there, and well. And for example, if you want a massage or an extra, they'll give you for a very small price. Instead, we know really well that in the European thermal places, those kind of extra service are paid a lot. But in general, well, you have also this crystal therapy. So you have different kind of sauna. And for example, they were really, really keen and eager for the fit, because there is a person. Yes, yes.
Right. So
Totally
explain
different.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's totally different mentality and culture. And after the initial, yeah, for example, the nudity is not is forbidden to be naked. That is different, for example, from the Finnish sauna or so on, for religious reasons. And all those difference gave a different experience.
Yeah. Okay. And so, did you say there was an oiled one or something where you covered in oil? Was that was that one of the ones there, or did I hear
No,
that
no,
wrong?
honestly, I don't think so. I don't know, honestly, yeah, but I didn't. I wasn't in that situation. No, about oil, I don't remember anything. No.
Oh,
Hopefully,
that's funny. Yeah. So
yeah.
did they do any whacking or anything? Because I've seen something about like they whack you with things. Did that happen to you, or was that a different one again?
No, not
That's
even
something weird.
this. No whip. No.
No whacking.
No, really
Yeah.
gentle, really soft, and yeah. But
Yeah.
after
Cool.
this, I was like reborn. It was really,
Wow.
really, yeah, worthy to do it. And I didn't pay because of the Turkish hospitality. They were so kind, and they offered me like the
Wow.
ticket. Yes. So
That's
even
awesome.
that, yeah, awesome. Yeah. Yeah, but the Turkish hospitality, it's really, really similar to. That's interesting because the Italian and Turkish are exactly the same in some behavior, like talking a lot, trying. For example, if you go, the Turkish bazaar is a real experience. You go in this market, in those huge markets with a lot of lights and a lot of products, and basically the Turkish commerciant doesn't like if you accept at the first sight the price. You have to deal a bit, yeah, because it's part of their culture. If you say, okay, accept your price, they look like even disappointed. So it's better always to deal and to contract the prices. And there, yes, believe me, you find the freshest product I ever seen. Even in Italy, they are not so fresh. I'm talking especially about grapes, so fruit, grapes, bananas, avocados, apricots, everything. It's so fresh and it's so good and it's so cheap. And it's so
Yeah.
cheap.
Wow.
Yes, it's an experience. You have to go there, and of course you will be maybe a bit bothered by all the people who are trying you to sell everything from carpet to groceries. Yeah. Seriously. But it's so intense and nice experience for sure.
Okay. So did you try the, I think it's called the habisha, is it, or that smoking thing? Or is it
Yes, yeah. The let's say the shisha,
shisha?
a
That's it.
sort
Yeah.
of shisha. Yeah. Yes, also there. Well, it's it's yeah, it's okay as experience, but it's not so different from any other countries like I don't know, Iran, or like let's say Middle Asia, East Asia. It's interesting, yes, because they bring you the for free the tea. So you have of course a lot of flavors from I don't know, from watermelon to mango. There are really a lot of multiple choice. It's relaxing, of course. And what else? And you can play also to this game backgammon. So with basically a sort of Oriental chess, but more complicated with the rules. And it's quite a typical Turkish tradition to smoke and to play. And if you go, especially the morning in the bars, there are full of all elders playing and discussing, talking. And this is another part of the culture that it's really, really close to the Italian one. But in our case, we don't play backgammon. Maybe we sip a nice coffee, and so it's different from there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, there's a really strong culture, I guess, as well, like what you're saying. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So when you went to Israel, did you go to Jordan as well? And what was your purpose behind that trip? Was that just for fun, or were you working there, or?
No, no, I was only in Israel. And well, as I told you, it wasn't possible to go to Jordan.
Yep.
Better, it was possible, but it was too expensive. Because if you go there for maximum 2 days, you have to pay like $200.
What?
I mean, it's yes, because it sum up the fee for entering in the country, the release of the visa, and the cost for arriving in the places like Wadi Rum, Petra, and so on. It's more convenient to go for 3 or more than 3 days, or to go directly and only in Jordania. But why? There is a logic, because the Jordan authorities try to minimize the go, how it's called in English, the go the come and go in 1 or 2 days, because they want tourists stay for longer, because they know Eilat it's a very touristic place. So they are discouraging this practice to go in one place in Israel and then going in Jordania only 48 hours. So that's why the logic is, if you are going there only 40 hours or less, you are strongly discouraged by the prices.
Wow.
So, yes. And I didn't consider it in my travel, because I was convinced, okay, once I will be in Eilat, it will be not so expensive and it will be not so complicated to go in. And I tried on my skin that my idea was wrong. But so my suggestion is, if you want to go to Jordania, go only to Jordania. If you want to go to Israel, go only to Israel, unless you have, I don't know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, unless you have a very, very big period, a lot of days. So in that case, it's acceptable. For example, if you decide to go 1 week in Israel and 1 week in Jordania, that's fine. You will pay in proportion much, much less.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that. That's really good advice, actually. Yeah. I've got a question. I've always wanted to go in Israel. I don't know if you've been, but I've seen pictures of it in documentaries, the hill where Jesus died on. Is that like I don't know what it's called. I think it's like Mount Ararat or something weird like that. Is that a place where people go, or like a touristic key destination?
I think so. Yeah, but I don't know exactly in the detail. But I can say, if you see the numbers of tourism in Israel, they did a huge effort in the last decade, because they were in the like in the 50 or in the 60 position during only 20 years ago, and after those massive investment in infrastructures and in the hotels, hostels, and so on, and with a massive advertising, the tourism in Israel increased a lot, and now they are like in the 25 or 24 position in the most visited countries in the world. So I think the reason is that they decide to diversify the tourism, because the past was essentially or 99% about religious tourism. And then, for example, Eilat is a destination considered also now by the low-cost companies. It's really recent, after since 2 or 3 years, I think. And well, they potentiate also in the desert, because there is also the Negev desert with the Dead Sea. And also there, imagine 20 years ago, there was nothing, or just the kibbutz that was the only point of attraction. Those kibbutz were the places where people lived and worked together, called commune, like in community. So they make a lot of investment, and it's possible now to make excursion with 444 in car to see the desert. And well, or for example, Tel Aviv, also the second town. So really, also because Israel had this necessity to clean up a bit, to make this maquillage operation, and to be a bit more considerate by the other countries. But, well, if we sum up all the results, now Israel is a very potential attractive place for tourism. And it wasn't so obvious only 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And well, furthermore, I would say the weather in Israel is perfect, because I was there in end of October, and well, the weather was fantastic, 30 degrees.
Oh, nice.
Yes, yeah, beaches and sun, so sunny, so strong. And also, I would say the local people speaks in English perfectly. Yeah, I have an anecdote, really not funny, but to understand the kindness of people. I just need to take a ticket, because I didn't have. So I went. I talked with the driver, and I had only my credit card, because I was convinced that I could pay also with credit card, but it wasn't possible. So he asked me only for coins, and one guy behind me, he understood that I didn't have any coins, and he paid the ticket for me. So yes, seriously,
That's
I was a
awesome.
bit surprised, and I started to talk with this guy, really, really kind person, and he told me that he told me also, it was interesting, because he told me also about the history of Eilat, how was the transformation, the development of the town. And I asked him, for example, why there were so many containers alongside the coast. And he explained me that during the Israel-Egyptian war, they were put as a prevention. And so, you know, it was a bit strange for me, because I was looking, there was this recension, yes, these borders, and you'll find thousands of military vehicles. And so he explained me why it happens, and now they are dismissed, they are not used. So he told me more info, more details about the war, something that I absolutely didn't know, or I ignored. And, you know, just, and I really appreciate this kind of courtesy. And well, it was a really interesting meeting.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, very, very welcoming.
Yes, yeah,
So
absolutely.
is there a place that you wouldn't go back to, that you've been to with all your travels?
You mean going there another time, or?
Yeah, like you're like, oh, I'm just gonna skip that place and not go back.
Well, normally I have this habit, this attitude. I made an exception for Porto, because I felt really like it home, and I really love this place. Then, of course, maybe in Italy, my country, I love to come back in some places that I really adore. But you know, maybe it's probably it's given by because it's your country, it's your language, it's easier.
Yep.
It's easier in general. Also because moving in another country, I need to also, for example, deal with my job, with my priorities. So it's not so automatically decide, okay, go there because I was treated really well. And in general, I like to discover new places. So if I come back, it's because there are a strong motivation to come once again there.
Okay. I was also wondering, because in Poland now, do you have to wear a mask everywhere, or and is there like a vaccine passport in Poland? Can you go into places without hassle, or what's the go there?
Well, about those topic, I would say that here in Poland, the COVID situation is quite calm. I don't know if it's mandatory to wear mask. Personally, I did in every situation. So in the tram, walking, and so on. I have the perception that maybe Polish people now tend to release a bit. Because, by the way, in this country, the COVID was never an urgency or just on the first wave. Well, I can tell you that, for example, I modified my future plan for this year because I will go to Malaga, Sevilla, and Granada instead of Scotland. My original plan was to go to Scotland, but I discovered that I need to take 2 tests, one in Poland, the antigenic one, and that's fine. But the second one, it will be the second day of permanence in Scotland, in Edinburgh, and it cost like £70. So I decide, okay, it is too much for me. Yes, yeah, it is too much. I don't want to pay it. My heart was a little broken because Scotland looks like fabulous, especially the Iceland of Sky. I don't know if you have ever been in Scotland or not.
No,
Not yet. And well, so yeah, this is the typical case where you have to find an alternative, and I found the alternative was Spain. So I hope that in the next year Scotland will have less. Also, yeah, this is really obvious. The COVID changed a bit our preferences, our habits, and now when we are planning to go somewhere, we have to deal also with it. I think, for example, Greece. I read on the Italian media that a lot of people basically didn't fulfill the passenger locator form that was mandatory for going to Greece, and they were stuck in the airport. So imagine, yeah, it was quite a horrible situation because maybe you work all year and you have those week of fun and travel and so on, and then I don't know why so many people didn't fulfill this form because it was mandatory, and you have to provide it at least 20 hours before the flight.
Yep.
Yes, otherwise you are not outpriced. So all those stories just to underline once again how important is it to plan in advance, to take all the information about documents. There is something that sometimes the traveler, the tourist underestimate. But you have always to be really careful because otherwise your dream becomes a nightmare.
Yeah. So you don't want to be in the airport for like a week or two. That'd ruin you. Absolutely.
Also, because consider if you remain longer because of those COVID restrictions, you are gonna pay. No one else, not the government, not the authorities. So it's also about your wallet, about your money. And that's why you should be aware of it.
Absolutely. So in just to sum everything up, is there an Instagram account that you have, or a Facebook that anyone would like click on to see what you're doing or what you're up to?
Yeah, I have the blog. It's written in Italian and English, and now I'm building the section in Spanish. The blog is called Itinerari Alternativi. And well, I don't have Instagram, but I have Facebook and LinkedIn and WhatsApp also. So people can contact me directly for asking any kind of suggestion. It's something that I invest a lot in the blog. It grew up step by step. And well, there you will find my personal experience, and you will find not so many information about hostels, trips. You'll find more my interpretation of the travels. So the things I like it, why I like it, which were the feelings, the sensation I proved, the places. Yeah, you will find for sure. I think the plus of my blog, you'll find those underrated places, or places basically that are not normally considered in the most usual tourism destination. I can mention you, for example, everyone loves going to Malta, but the typical tourists go to Paceville, La Valletta. While in my blog, I describe, for example, the Dingley Cliffs. No one knows those wonderful places, really remote, really isolated. And well, and in the article, I describe also that I almost lost my last bus to come back from there. Or, for example, there is this little town called Mgar that it's famous for the Frowley feast, the strawberry feast, and it's really it's a paradise because you'll for one day you'll find strawberries in all the declination, literally, not only
Wow.
food. Yeah.
Is that in Malta as well?
Sorry?
Is that in Malta as well, or that's not Malta?
Malta, in Malta.
Oh wow, that's cool. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
My mum's side of the family, she's from Malta. So
Oh, seriously? Oh, great.
yeah,
Great.
yeah. I've only been back twice because I'm in Australia, but yeah, that's cool.
And well, there are also the smaller islands like Gozo and Comino. And well, you know, in my blog I describe not exclusively, but those places that maybe has not so charm or they are not so famous, because I really like going and find this kind of deals or hidden places.
Yeah. Well, I can put your link to your blog and Facebook and
Thank you
LinkedIn
so much.
in the show notes so people can check that out. But yeah, I appreciate you coming on, and thanks for having a chat. It's nice to meet you.
Thank you so much for your hosting, and congratulations also for your podcast, because I heard the previous one. It sounds really professional and interesting.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good trip in Spain. Thank you.
Thank you, Jess. Have a nice day.
Bye.
Ciao. Ciao.